Well, hey there, YouTube. It's Petey. You caught me in the kitchen with the Zam. So, years ago we garbage picked this Zam, which was a store by the name of EJ Corvette. And Zam was their house brand of hi-fi. So, it has a little guy, a little bald guy with a magic wand. And this was a speaker cabinet with this driver in it, which I believe is a 6.5, and then it had this tweeter. Now, I had taken this thing and cut a panel in it, and on the panel I had wired in some potentiometers, so it had a AC plug on the back. It was like I took something apart. I took the motherboard out of this device, which it must have been a karaoke machine. So it had a karaoke machine amp that powered these speakers, and it had a slide pot that was taken out of an old cassette deck to alter the delay time. So you could plug this thing in AC and then access the audio through this 1/4-inch port. And there was a master volume and then a Series 3 controls or so for the rest of the whatever it was. And you could change the delay time with the slide control. So this is a real heavy-duty solid cabinet. It's very heavy. And what I've been working on this summer was a micro rig, a smaller rig for us to be able to throw in the car at the last minute. Speakers more like this, smaller speakers, stuff that I buy a lot of single speakers. If I see a really like a high quality speaker such as this at the resale store and there's only one, well, I'll grab it. And typically they're very affordable because they'll be only one, or might have a blown driver. So that's the collection of stuff that I've been working towards. This micro rig, meaning smaller set of gear, one set of stereo speakers with an amplifier for the drum tracks, one set of stereo speakers and an amplifier for the 6-string guitar, and then some sort of an amp for the bass, which is always the challenge when you're talking about a micro rig, because really for bass you need at least a 10-inch speaker. That's just a fact of life. They sell practice amps with 6.5, and I tried that. I've got a pair of 6.5-inch drivers in a couple of cabinets over here with a 50x2 with an EQ. Did we cut that EQ in last night? Yeah, we did.
Yes, we did.
Anyway, we haven't really tried the pair of 6.5s yet, and we can use those. They're Hartkey speakers, and they have half aluminum, half paper cone, and they're really they seem to me to work very well for the size to reproduce a bass guitar. I had a 10-inch speaker, and so we had went out and we played a remote at Delwood Park, and there was a busload of kids, and they gave us thunderous applause. It was really something else. They apparently really enjoyed our performance, so that was really exciting. But when we got there, we realized one of the speakers we had for the mains was blown. I had tested it here, and I had tested it at lower volumes, and then when we got it out and cranked it up, it was like the foam surround was separated from the driver. So it worked, and it sounded okay at low volumes, but when you turned it up, it was flappy. So when we got home, I was like, I've got this 10. We found this 10 at a resale store. It was like someone had bought a bass amp with a 10 in it, and they had decided they wanted to beef up, and so they bought a more significant 10. And so their stock 10 went to Goodwill, and that's what I picked up. So I thought, you know what, I want to put that 10 in that Zam. So that's what I did, and we're here to give you a tour of this amp that we have thrown together, this battery-powered bass amp. So I'm gonna flip this up on its. So this is the original speaker grill, and we removed the staples. They stapled both sides of it. They stapled on this axis and then on the back, and they certainly didn't get shy with the staples. They stapled as many staples as they could possibly fit with no space in between them. It was solid staples. So it took a little while to remove those staples, but I cut this thing down, and it's got some fasteners, but it's also got some glue around the side. So I used some like 1/4-inch ply for the baffle, and I know what you're thinking. I was trying to reduce the weight of the unit. So I made a baffle, which is the front panel of wood with the circular hole that the speaker mounts to, and then I made this back plate. And here we see these 3 batteries power there's a buffer circuit on the input jack, and then there is a 3-band EQ, and then there is a Class D TPA 3112 D2 mono 100-watt amplifier board, and that's what it's rated at. Now this is running at 24 volts, but we are running an 8-ohm speaker, so it's less ohms, it's less amperage than the 100-watt. I did port it. We went to Home Depot to get some hardware, to get some fasteners for the nut and bolt set with smaller diameter washers to hold the speaker in place. I reused the 4 fasteners that came out of the original baffle, but I wanted to use 8. And they had this piece was in the garbage at Home Depot, this plumbing piece. So I utilized that as a. So there's a subwoofer port. So there's a fuse under here somewhere. There's a fuse. There's a fuse there, 2-amp fuse, and then we have a 5-amp fuse here. There's a bag of replacement fuses in case the unthinkable happens. Here's the amplifier board, TDA 3116 D2 100-watt mono. This comes with a 3-legged trim pot, and I'll cut that out with my snips, and then heat the spots up with an iron, pull the little pins out of there, and then solder 3 wires in to my own potentiometer, which is over here for the master volume control. So here is we forgot we were going to glue that in. So I'm going to have to get the glue gun. It's got Velcro, but Velcro didn't really didn't adhere as well as it should. So there's the circuitry for the EQ. It's like in a little box, epoxied into this little box. And the Velcro is not working at all. But so we have a DP-DT power switch, and there's a 12-volt pack, and then the way that the batteries are wired is these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These 6 come up to 12 volt, or I think it's 24. Yeah, these 6 come up to 24, and these 6 come up to 24, and they're doubled up for capacity. And then there's 2 wires that come in with the 24 volts. And one goes directly to the amp. Not really that neat. Here's our input. So there's the buffer. It's a JFET buffer. And then here's the speaker and the baffle that I made. So I do have some additional polyfill. That there is a upholstery place. We live very near a industrial park that has all sorts of like cabinet companies, and there's a computer guy, Hans System. So if you go and hit those dumpsters, like we got this thick paper stock. Oh, I still have some of that Got that when the kids were little, many, many years ago.
You know,
This,
it's similar to that. But it's
no, this
thick.
is it. This is a thinner piece. We got different. So these cutoffs are what, like, this is a bomb for the Mariana Trench delay. But I've been using that paper for a long time. So, yeah, it is a rated at 100, probably more like 50. I don't know. It's got a single 10, and the idea is that she'll use this little Korg, and this will give some little bit of effects. We like to use auto wah. We like to use overdrive, distortion, stuff like that on the bass. So this is going to be for the micro rig, and if it needs help, what I'll do, I have a splitter that I've built. So it's a JFET splitter, and it splits your guitar channel into 2 channels. We could run 1 channel directly into this for a dry, and then run the other channel into this, which stereo would come out to her pair of 6.5s, the Hartkey speakers. So we could set those 6.5s next to this, and Bob's your uncle. So we tested this thing out just a little bit. When I initially had made the presets on this, I reduced all of the bass frequencies to nothing on the patches for this Korg, because you could get a lot more volume out of it if you just cut the bass. Believe it or not, that's how I did it. So we went back in here today because we have a 10 now, and we turned those frequencies up to like 5. So I got to see. There is a 3-band EQ with a bass knob on here. It works very well. So we have tone control on it, and I think this is going to work. This is going to be about it. Like I don't want to be going with a 12-inch speaker for the micro rig. A 10 in this box. This is perfect. This is absolutely perfect. This is what I wanted, was just a bass guitar 10-inch speaker in a small little box with the battery self-contained. So that's the battery-powered bass amp. Battery-powered bass amp is a bad idea. It's not a good idea, simply because of the logistics of it. But you can do it. You can play around with it. And I mean, I think the one factor with this that I could have done a little better with is, I know there's software where you can type in the dimensions and the size of the speaker, and then it'll give you the size of the port. Like if I would have done that, we could have like tuned it to hit some resonant frequency that's familiar to the 4-string bass. But hey, it's got this cute little toilet or elbow plumbing. PVC. Yeah, it's perfect how it is. So if you are going to be playing around with battery-powered amplifiers for making music, Class D amplifiers are your friend. And you can get those on eBay or Alibaba Express. AliExpress is a little cheaper. And the ones that you really don't want to mess around with anything but the TDA or TPA 3116 D2 mono or its stereo brother. But those are the ones that you want. So there's more stuff on the micro rig. I've got this is the device that has the memory card with that plays the backing tracks. This has a built-in same amp but stereo, and a little preamp, and then a outboard EQ circuit. And I've got a few of these that work in tandem with these sets of speakers that enable us. Like here's this was the one that I played my guitar through, which got dented when we went out. You see that, gomti? Mm. So this has a little outboard EQ, but you plug the speakers in. Here's big input, small input, and that's pretty much about it. So that's the micro rig. This is the bass amp for the micro rig. I'm going to put a little bit of hot glue on that EQ board so it stays where it sits. We're going to put the polyfill. We're going to put the screws in, and I am done with the micro rig. Thank you very much for joining me on this one. I think I need a break. And poor Gomti. All right, you guys. Thank you, and peace.